Hello, and welcome back to the space where we talk about health, parenting, and all the things that make life better, one conversation at a time. Joining us today is renowned name of the world of in the world of nutrition, Miss Vandana Chawla, a certified nutritionist with 21 years of experience, a UK VRN registered nutritionist, a Dr. Sears lean coach, and the author of two books on maternal and child nutrition. Her work has been empowered a community of over 22,000 mothers, helping them make informed choices about their family's health. So, ma'am, it's an honor to have you here.
Thank you so much, Mehak.
Today, we are talking about an important topic that affects many expecting mothers: gestational diabetes or GDM. It's a condition that can seem intimidating at first, but with the right information and guidance, it can be managed effectively, right? So before we get into that, I want Ms. Chawla to give us a little understanding of the topic.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mehak. Yes, as you said very rightly, gestational diabetes is a very common problem which is seen in many women nowadays. When we call it gestational diabetes, it is basically diabetes is a condition where there is high blood sugar or uncontrolled blood sugar. When we call it gestational diabetes, it means that the diabetes seen during the period of pregnancy, and in many cases, it disappears after giving birth to the baby. So, gestational diabetes is basically, in simple words, we can say a diabetic condition or a high blood sugar level being seen in pregnant women during the period of pregnancy, which goes off on its own after giving birth to the baby.
All right. And what are usually the causes of GDM? Like, is there any particular stage in the pregnancy when it tends to show up as more often?
Yeah, you're right. It is usually seen in the second trimester of pregnancy. And when you said what is the cause of it, well, to understand the cause of it, there are two hormones that regulate the blood sugar levels in our body. One is insulin and the other is glucagon. Now, when we eat food, in very simple word, this food breaks down into glucose or sugar. This results in the increase in the level of glucose in the blood. And it is at this time the organ pancreas, it releases a hormone called insulin. Insulin comes into the bloodstream, take this excess sugar or glucose and gives it to the different cells of the body to utilize this glucose for energy purposes. So in simple words, we can say insulin is a hormone which is like a truck which is taking the glucose from the blood and transporting it to the different cells of the body, and the cells then get energized. So after 2 hours of eating your food, we see that your blood sugar level starts to coming back to normal, because now your excess glucose which was released after eating your food has been taken away by the transporter called insulin. Now, what happens during the gestational diabetes? During pregnancy, the placenta, it releases certain hormones, which is like estrogen or cortisols or human placental lactogen. It is these hormones which have an impact on the insulin. They either stop the insulin, the cells responding to insulin. That means there is increased insulin resistance. So the cells are not able to take the glucose, or in other words, you can say that the truck is knocking at the door of the cells saying that please take the glucose, but the cells are not opening the doors and the glucose is not going inside. So that is one thing. Or the pancreas are not able to produce enough insulin because of the impact of these hormones which are released during pregnancy. It is not that they're released only during pregnancy. The levels of these go up during the period of pregnancy, and as a result they have a higher impact on the insulin level, as a result of which the sugar is not being transported to the cells, and sugar continues to remain in higher levels in the blood, and that condition now is called gestational diabetes. As I said earlier, usually it is seen in the second trimester or the fifth or the sixth month of the pregnancy.
Right. Right. Okay. So, are there certain women who are more likely to develop GDM? Like, are there any specific risk factors they should be aware of?
Yes. In fact, women who are overweight or obese prior to pregnancy, they are always at risk, number one. Number two, women who had earlier deliveries and where the baby was weighing more than 4.5 kg after birth. Number three, if women had gestational diabetes or pre-diabetic condition in their previous pregnancy, they are at risk. Or if a woman has a history of PCOS, that is the polycystic ovarian disease or syndrome, or if there is diabetes running in the family, particularly in the immediate family members, like a sibling having diabetes or either of the parents suffering from diabetes, then in that case, the woman becomes at a higher risk of developing diabetes. See, when we use this word higher risk, Mehak, this has to be understood very well. Higher risk basically means that she's at risk, but it is not 100% sure that a woman having two or three of these things will definitely have gestational diabetes. If she controls herself, keeps a check on her body weight, and her diet and lifestyle is modified, she can keep this risk at bay. She may not develop. Okay, so it is, these are the high risk factors. So when the woman first she is identified as a pregnant woman, at that time the doctors usually screen out that okay, she's at risk of gestational diabetes. So therefore, during her first antenatal visit, her blood glucose levels are tested for. If things are found to be fine, then at 4 or 5 months of pregnancy, again it is being tested. It's a routine check to do, or the screening of the mother is done to make sure that she is not suffering from gestational diabetes. If she's suffering from gestational diabetes, then the medical treatment or whatever that is required by the doctors, that gets started immediately.
All right. Makes sense. So you often talk about managing gestational diabetes through healthy eating, right? You
Yeah.
also walk us through what that actually looks like on a plate. Like, what does eating right mean in this particular case?
Yeah, when we say eating right or eating healthy, it means that uh, one is what mother or a pregnant woman has to always remember is that she has to eat in such a way that she has to keep her blood glucose levels always within the target range. Number one. Number two is that she doesn't have to skip or remove any of the nutrients from her diet or from her meals, because she requires more or extra amount of these nutrients to support the pregnancy and support the growth of the baby inside her. So her nutritional demands for particularly nutrients like proteins is very high. Also for calcium is very high, for iron is very high. So her nutritional requirements are very high during this period. So therefore she has to eat so that she can support or meet these increased nutritional needs during the period of pregnancy. And number three is that we always say a pregnant woman should gain a healthy weight gain during the entire period of pregnancy has to be approximately 10 to 12 kgs. That means starting from before pregnancy, coming to the end of pregnancy, the total weight gain has to be 10 to 12 kgs. So therefore, her eating has to be balanced within this. That means her blood glucose are not levels are not disturbed. Number two, her increased nutritional requirements are easily met. And number three is that she remains within the healthy weight range. She doesn't become overweight or she doesn't become underweight. Okay. So when you say how a healthy plate has to look like, a healthy plate would look like is something like, let's take a plate, and that plate has to have, let's say, half the plate is covered with fruits and vegetables, then about three-fourth of that has to be covered easily with about not three-fourths, sorry, half of the plate has to be covered with healthy carbs, and then the remaining half has to be covered with proteins, and also some amount of healthy fats have to be added into it. So the stress is more on vegetables, more on fruits, more on the healthy or lean proteins, and on healthy carbs. This is how a healthy plate of a pregnant woman with gestational diabetes should look like.
All right. That's quite informative. Now, there is a lot of confusion around carbs, like you just mentioned, right?
Yeah.
So, should women with this GDM cut them out completely, or is there a smarter way to include them?
Yeah, she should not exclude carbs from her diet. There is a smarter way, as you said, of including carbs in the diet is by choosing the right type of carbs and always having a portion control over the amount of carbs that she is eating. So it means that she has to maximize the intake of healthy carbs and minimize the unhealthy ones. So here you would ask me, what are the healthy carbs then? The healthy carbs are, that is, focus has to be on whole wheat like whole atta or whole grain atta, or it has to be millets like ragi, jowar, bajra, oats, even lentils, dals, beans, all veggies and fruits. These are giving the mother a good amount of healthy carbs, which will give, because these carbs are the major source of energy for the body. So she has to remain active and alert throughout the day. So therefore, for that, these healthy carbs have to be put into her diet so that she gets good amount of energy, and that also energy will help her baby to grow well inside her. Now, the unhealthy carbs are like biscuits or any food which we can say is loaded with sugars, whether it is the soft drinks or whether it is ice creams or whether it is cakes or whether it is market brought a lot of cookies and biscuits. All of them are loaded with sugar. All that has to be completely avoided. So don't cut down on carbs completely. So for pregnancy, because you have to remember, this is not the time for low or no carbohydrate diet. That is not the right thing. But it has to be taking the carb in a smarter and in a right way. So also when you are taking healthy carbs during pregnancy, this is for all the pregnant women who are having gestational diabetes. If you are including healthy carbs, please, along with that, add some lean proteins, add some veggies, add some healthy fats. Then what happens is that whatever sugar spikes that happen because of consuming healthy carb, that can be kept under check with the help of the lean proteins and the healthy fats. For example, rather than having only rice and dal, please add some veggies also into it. Remember, your plate has half of veggies. Okay, so therefore it has to have rice, small portion of rice, a slightly bigger portion of dal, and then a lot of veggies added into it. That becomes a complete meal. Same way, if for breakfast, let's say if you're taking egg and breads, then you have to have, let's say, two eggs and plus one slice of bread, and along with that you can add some veggies or fruits also added into it, and along with the dairy. That becomes your complete meal. So this is how you have to portion your carb intake and combine it in a right way with lean proteins, with healthy fats, so that the spike in the sugar levels is kept under check.
Right. Great. So, ma'am, to wrap up, could you quickly share the top five do's and don'ts for someone managing gestational diabetes during pregnancy? Maybe a quick list for our listeners who can keep it in mind.
Yes. Uh, well, I would say that I will give you five do's and five don'ts. Five do's for women with gestational diabetes is: number one, eat small meals. Do not eat large meals, because larger the meal is, the chances of your sugar spikes happening at a very faster rate. So that has to be kept under control. So eat small meals, which are again giving you sustained energy in such a manner for the next 1 to 2 hours you are not hungry again. Eat well balanced meats, which means including lean proteins, which is coming from, again I repeat, lentils, dals, eggs. These are all lean protein. Vegetables then you have to include in your diet, and have healthy carbs, and also include enough dairy. Dairy will come from, because your calcium needs are very high during this period, so dairy will come from milk, it will come from the homemade dahi, it can come from homemade paneer, or it can come from some cheese also, which you can pick up. Whatever is your choice, you can include them in your diet in whichever way you want. Then number three is spend at least 10 to 15 minutes after your lunch or dinner going for a small walk, a gentle walk. I'm not saying any rigorous exercise you have to do, just 10 to 15 minute of walk after your big meals, particularly lunch and dinner. It is very important, because again, your blood sugar levels can be kept under check. Number four is keep yourself well hydrated during the entire period of pregnancy. And well hydrated does not mean that you have to go for fruit juices or for other soda beverages. It is just homemade chas, or it can be homemade nimbu pani, or it could be infused water or plain water that you can go for. And another, finally, I would say is that if a woman has been diagnosed with gestational diabetes, it is very important for her to go for regular checkups during the entire period of pregnancy, and she has to be always in touch with her with a nutritional expert also, who can guide her on as to what type of foods she should be eating and what type of carbs she has to include in her diet. So these were the five do's. Now, when coming to what should be avoided by a woman with gestational diabetes, is number one, do not skip any meal or carbs, thinking that because nowadays we say that those glucose monitoring machines, which we call it as the CGMs, they are being put onto the arm, and the mother is always checking her blood sugar levels, and she said, oh my god, my sugar level has suddenly gone up, so let me not have lunch. So do not skip any meal, do not skip carbs, do not remove carbs from your diet. This is number one. Number two, do not eat too large meals at any time. If you are having small meals, then definitely you will not be too hungry for the next meal, and on its own you will not be taking a large meal. Number three is, do not go for any kind of diabetic foods which are available in the market, or even do not get into the habit of going for artificial sweeteners, because these are nothing but chemicals which can harm you or your baby, and therefore they will not help you to fight your cravings, but some of the artificial sweeteners in fact increased your sugar cravings. Number four, do not go for fruit juices whenever you are thirsty, because fruit juices means they are loaded with sugar also and will bring a sudden spike in your blood sugar level. Rather, go for fresh fruits, and always keep yourself hydrated with healthy beverages like plain water, infused water, green teas, or even with something like chas or homemade nimbu pani. And finally, enjoy the period of pregnancy. Do not take stress, because stress can further aggravate your blood sugar levels. And cortisol, as we said, is one of the hormone which is released during the times when you are stressed, and this hormone has a very negative impact on insulin and can further deteriorate your condition. So therefore, get yourself involved in activities which will keep you happy and which keeps your mind free of stress. Go for that. And I always say, enjoy the period of pregnancy, and later on enjoy motherhood.
That was incredibly informative, Ms. Vandana. You've broken down a very complex topic into something that every pregnant woman can understand and act upon. Now,
Thank
as
you.
we come to the end of this insightful conversation, do you have any parting advice or takeaways after such a heavy information to the ladies?
Yeah, finally, how I would like to conclude all this is that, yes, if you have been diagnosed with GDM, do not take any kind of stress. There are good doctors, there are nutrition experts available who can always guide you and take care of you. Number two is that do not get into that feeling of always checking your blood sugars and getting more and more stressed about it as to what is happening to me or to my baby. Another important thing that you have to always remember is, as long as you are eating healthy, as long as you are eating homemade foods, as long as your meals are well balanced, as long as your focus is not too much on what will happen to my blood sugar, what will happen to my blood sugar, you will sail through this period of pregnancy very happily and healthily, and definitely you will have a healthy pregnancy followed by a healthy delivery.
How nice. Thank you once again, ma'am, for being with us. And to everyone, if today's conversation helped you or someone you know, do share it forward. Stay well, stay informed, and take care of yourself. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah.